Oh, you're already standing, okay. All right, Mr. Fowler's going to lead us in a word of prayer.
Let's bow our heads. Our Father, we're truly thankful for the many blessings you brought into our life. We're thankful for the wonderful weather we're having. Father, and we please, if you would, bring us a little rain now and then, because it's getting kind of dry. Father, we ask you to continue to bless our military, bless their families, be with those that need help, Father, men, and heal them as only you can do. We ask all of these things in your most precious name. Amen.
Well, one thing, the town's making good money on the water. Okay, Don, you're going to lead us in prayer?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, you may be seated. And we'll call on Mr. Dave at this time.
Good morning, Council. The items you have before you are budget amendments, and we also have a grant project ordinance amendment. The reason why we're bringing this to you now, and action needs to be taken, is by statute. Any amendment has to be done within the fiscal year that you're in. So when we get into July and invoices start flowing in that pertain to the fiscal year that we're currently in, and I see, there's a department that might be potentially going over budget, that we need to do a budget amendment. By statute, I'm not able to do that. That's why we need to have action taken today. Just wanted to explain that. And when these amendments, the first one is community development. I'm just being super cautious. They've had a lot of activity this year. I don't think they're going to overexpend their budget, but I don't want to get into a situation where, like I just said, invoices come in July, because they've had a pretty robust, active year this year and a lot of different items. That they're going to be pretty close. So the revenues are coming in at a robust pace. So what I'm doing here is just increasing our revenues that we budgeted for building permits in the fiscal year that we're in. We've already brought in more than what's been budgeted this fiscal year, and it's just covering any potential areas where I think we could go over budget. I don't think we're going to. I just want to really reiterate that. So even though there's an amendment here for community development, they've been fiscally responsible, and I think they're going to stay in line. It's just me being very conservative, where I want to just play it safe, because I don't want to be in front of you guys. Like we discussed that letter last year, the LG will say, well, I would have to answer why we went over budget. So I want to avoid that. The next budget amendment is for paid parking. We're getting acclimated to, this is the first full year of the paid parking. Revenues are coming in at the pace that we budgeted so far. Expenditures a little slightly higher. We have a feel now of what things are going to cost and what type of revenues we're going to bring in. So again, I'm just being cautious. So what we're doing here is I'm appropriating fund balance and to cover the potential costs that we budget for contractor services. We're going to go a little bit over that this fiscal year. So I'm just being, again, that's why this budget amendment is being done. Brian, should I just go each one by one, just ask them to take action, or how do you, or should you go one by one? One by one, yeah. Okay.
They're all the same department, which I'm assuming.
No, they're not. So
There's not any action on it, is there?
yeah, they need to take action to approve
I
this.
make a
Yeah.
motion, we approve number
One?
one, community development budget amendment.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your hand. I was told that there wasn't any votes on them.
I make a motion, we approve the paid parking budget amendment.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Okay. And then the next one is sanitation. When revenues are coming in higher than projected or compared to year over year, it's an indication that, you know, there's more activity with people using the service. So although we're upping the amount, I'm increasing the sanitation revenues. They're coming in higher than what's projected this fiscal year. And that correlates to why we're having additional expenditures on the sanitation side of it, on the contracted services. So their contract is driven by activity, obviously. Revenues are coming in higher than projected, so you're always going to see a correlating increase on the expenditure side of it too. So I'm increasing the sanitation revenue a little bit higher than what we budgeted for $55,000. And you can see the lines that I'm increasing. It's contracted services and contracted services recycling center for $20,000 and $35,000 respectively. And with that said, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have on this budget amendment.
I make a motion,
Got
we
any?
approve this amendment.
Nobody's got any questions?
No.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. We'll just direct everything to Don.
And then elections, what was budgeted this fiscal year that we're in was $6,000. The bill came in at around, we were billed by Onslow County and also by Pender. The bill came in a little bit higher than that. We ended up spending around $6,480. So we currently now, so that's why we need to do a budget amendment here is for $500.
Y'all didn't run this year, did you?
No.
It was from, I guess, November.
Still within the fiscal year.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so it was for that election day.
yeah.
I started to say, I didn't think we had an election this year. Okay.
Within the fiscal year, not calendar year.
It's fiscal year. So that's why I'm asking, we're appropriating $500 out of fund balance, and then that $500 will be used to cover the election line, and then we'll be within budget
I
for
have a
the end of the
motion?
fiscal
I
year.
make a motion, we approve it.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
And then the last item is a grant project budget ordinance. It's dealing with the American Rescue Plan. We received already a little bit over $393,000 this fiscal year. The auditors came in the beginning of June. We were discussing how best to handle this. We're going to be getting another $393,000 the upcoming fiscal year. We'll probably get it in July. So they recommended, and I agree with them, we need to appropriate it. The feds want to see it appropriated in a separate fund. So we're setting up a grant fund for this project, for the receipt of these funds. They revised not keeping it in general fund. So what this is asking you today is just to approve this ordinance and recognizing this is how much we're going to receive. And then I have grant expenditure. That is not committed yet. You guys, it's actually the pleasure of the board to decide how you want to spend those funds. So this is just setting it up in a separate fund. And then once it's decided by the board what you'd like to do with those funds, we'll move forward with it. But again, it's been advised that the federal government wants to see this not sitting in general fund, but sitting outside general fund. So we're setting up another fund that's appropriating the amount we're going to be receiving in total. With that said, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do I have a motion on
I
this?
make a motion, we approve it and put it under that particular fund.
I'll
Right.
second it.
All in favor, raise your hand. And I think it's for a vacation for the board, right?
Well, and Mr. Mayor, if I may, just real quick on that, we were also talking to the auditor, feels like last week, maybe the week prior, but there's some different ways that we can use these funds according to the American Rescue Plan. But we're gonna put all this stuff together, bring it back to y'all for approval, because we tend to think most of it will probably go to our utilities, into our wastewater system, but there might be another potential opportunity to divert some of this funding. But we got to stay within their very strict guidelines, so we'll kind of work all that in the background and bring it back to you, as Dave had mentioned.
But that sounds like one of our greatest needs right there anyway.
Yes, sir.
Is there a time frame on?
2024 for it to be expended.
I think it's, yeah, I have to go back to double check that, but I think it's December of 2024. So we have time, but if depending on what we're going to use it for, though, obviously, if it's going to be for utilities or whatnot, we getting the bids and everything in process, we need to make a commitment sooner, I would think, to make sure we meet that deadline.
Okay. Anything else?
Dave Price's eyes is big. He's got some plans for it.
I'm sure he will. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, you got the next one, Kyle?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So this is very similar to what we were looking at with budget ordinance amendments. However, this is actually getting this before you to be implemented for next fiscal year on July 5th. So you do not have to vote on this today, but our town clerk and working with staff and the state agency, DEECS, which is sort of the environmental compliance and information section of DEQ. So our clerk was awarded a grant to hopefully bolster our communication on what can and can't be recycled, our trash items, just trying to get messaging out to the community. So we were awarded these grant funds, and we'll need to show that within the sanitation line item for next fiscal year.
Okay, do I make a motion that we,
Can we not have a consensus and have it put on?
That's it. I don't need a formal vote today. Thank you.
okay. All right. Carla, annexation request?
This is for the annexation of the new park, the tract that the town was given, so we'd like to have that within the town.
Okay,
So this is just to direct the clerk to investigate and go to the next step to
Okay.
set the public hearing.
I make that motion, we direct the clerk. or
Okay.
consent.
I'll second.
second, all in favor? Okay, that, unencapsulated dock ordinance,
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. You directed staff to look at the unencapsulated dock ordinance. So what we have here is a draft of that ordinance. Everything shown in red would be new, added into our current code under Section 511, which is currently a reserved section within the ordinance. So essentially what this does is any new or repairs or modification of an existing structure would have to be encapsulated according to the ordinance. So this is before you for consensus to move forward for adoption in July.
okay, you want to vote on that now?
No, you can just consensus to move it
Put
forward.
put it in consent agenda? Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay. All righty, Beach Vitex. I've got one,
Skip one. Skip number 9.
stormwater management plan. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Price, if you'll come up, but essentially, and cover the background of it, we budgeted funds this year to enter into negotiations and contract to work with an engineering firm to start looking at an overall stormwater management plan for the town, which includes investigating certain areas, looking at potential future funding opportunities of how we can tackle any projects with that. So I believe the total for the contract would be $100,000, and the initial pilot program for this would be up in the Del Mar beach area. So Price, if you want to add anything to that, or if council has any questions about this.
No, like I said, pretty much covers it. This studies the feasibility of installing a stormwater system between Del Mar, that's between Surf Condos and Broadway Street. And it also takes into account the construction and the maintenance, long-term maintenance, of what it's going to cost per year, including debt service. This also looks at the possibility of adding a rate to pay for this, a utility, a new enterprise fund, if the town wants to pursue that. It studies it and shows you what that would look like if the town council wanted to pursue that option. Unfortunately, this is only the Del Mar area. Originally, this was a much wider scope, but with the monies that are allocated, this is what we were able to afford now. 35,000 of this would come out of this current fiscal year, and 25,000 next fiscal year. I think the time frame is 12 months, I believe. And we are asking for approval this evening if we can, or this afternoon.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Okay. Kyle, Beach Vitex ordinance.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. The next item is a proposal to amend the current ordinance in place for beach vitex. Beach vitex is a invasive species, non-native to our area, and the town had adopted ordinances on this back in 2008, I believe based on state funding to assist property owners for eradication. Beach vitex continues to be an issue within the town. Especially working with coastal transplants on the beach grass and sea oats program this year, and really looking at certain properties. So we don't want to get rid of the ordinance. However, there was a section within that ordinance that essentially put the responsibility of the town to pay for the removal or the eradication of beach vitex. We don't have the funding to properly execute that program. So I'm requesting that we remove that portion of the ordinance. However, I have been in contact with our state legislature as well as DEQ or DWR to see if we can get some funding. And if I get some good news or any news out of that, I'll let council know. And if we can run a program for eradication, we certainly would want to do that. But just didn't want this lingering out there because this could be a financial burden on the town that we were not prepared for. So with council's blessing, we'll get that taken care of. And I just need a consensus to move this to July.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Could we change that where it says until funds are, where it says based on program and funding available? Can we put in there state or federal funds?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we can't have somebody come back trying to beat us up.
Absolutely.
To put funding in.
No, I appreciate the comment on that, and we can certainly make that change.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion?
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So why was it in there? Why did it say the town will pay for the cost of the removal of the
That
property?
was put in there probably,
Because the town had the revenues from a grant, I believe. There was state funding that was provided to the town to work on this issue.
but there's not anymore. So it would just cost the town straight out.
Yeah, and if, looking at this, we could, even starting at, where I have him based on program and funding availability, we could remove all of that and essentially start where it says property owners shall be responsible for reestablishing vegetation on the dune, and just cut that sentence out. And that way it'd take, out of an ordinance, it would take out any language that the town would insinuate about funding. I mean, that could be certainly a logical approach to amending the ordinance as well.
Okay, just as long as we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, it would be an enormous price if we took all the Vitex out.
Yes,
that
sir.
whole town.
I would say stop it, like you said, the last, just take it out.
Yep. Yeah, it could be, yeah. Yeah, not a problem. I appreciate those comments.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion
I make a motion that we take it out
and accept it?
and accept.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Next is stormwater project grants discussion.
All right, so this is in light of the very recent announcements regarding $250,000 from the Golden Leaf Foundation, as well as $520,100 coming from North Carolina Emergency Management for the implementation of what I'll call Phase 1 and 2 of the South Shore Stormwater Mitigation Project. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion because the projects are, since we received notification of the funding, have been in contact with DOT, who has expressed interest in taking over the projects, utilizing that grant funding to execute, which would remove the town's, I don't want to say responsibility by any means, but the day-to-day management of that, of those projects and execution. As a reminder, infrastructure tied to these, both of these projects would be within DOT right-of-way that then lead to the infiltration chambers on private or public property. But we would have to go through encroachment agreement processes, et cetera. So it may be better suited that we work with DOT in executing both of those programs. I've been in contact with Golden Leaf. They would not have any issue with this and would not get involved in our contract with the state on the funding and execution. But I just wanted to put it on the agenda just so you guys are aware of what's going on, and if we need to move swiftly and get something on your July agenda, whether that's a setting up the budget for it within the general fund or setting up a project to execute these. I'll certainly want to work with Dave and take his recommendation on what's best to move forward. So I don't have an ordinance specific for the projects for you, but just wanted to let you know kind of what's going on, and there's been just some very recent discoveries that I would like to pursue and look into before we make a final decision on how we're going to move forward with the project.
Okay. All righty.
And if anybody has any questions about either one of those projects, I'll be more than happy to answer those too, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody got any questions for him? I think we all know what we're trying to do.
Yeah, yep.
The first dollar amount was $250,000, the second dollar amount was,
$520,100. So that will cover sites 4 and 6 within that feasibility study, which were identified as the top priority projects. Site 6 is 250. Site 4 is 520.
Okay.
Now,
But it all be done in one project, right?
Well, that's what we're going to try to work out and figure out is if we can work with DOT and they can execute both projects at the same time, we're working with two separate funding sources and reporting agencies. So that's where some of the background things that we administratively need to work out and figure out how we want to move forward
It
with.
seems like to me if they could do it together, it'd be a lot cheaper.
Absolutely, absolutely.
do they want to do the project?
DOT, yeah, they reached out to us.
Okay,
Yep.
that's good.
Yep.
Then I'd let them do it because that the responsibility falls on them.
Well, yeah, we would.
It's their right of way anyway.
That's right, and we still would remain the financial responsible party for it, but we've got a good relationship with our Division 3 and feel comfortable moving forward in that direction if we can work something out.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is saltwater resolution, and that's adoption of Adelaide Drive. Is it ready to go?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. So from what I can tell, this was kind of brought up back in 2019. Adelaide Drive is the last road within Saltwater Landing, and the request to the town was made, I believe, in 2019, but a resolution was never brought forward. I've asked Mr. Price to be here to provide any details or if you have any questions on things, but essentially we went out. There had been a overlay put onto the road and core testing done, showing that the standards have been met. In addition to a deed of dedication was prepared from their attorney and reviewed by our attorney. That would clearly delineate that the roadway and right-of-ways could be accepted, except for sidewalks within the areas of driveways. So again, this is a request that had been, I would say, just kind of lingering out there for a couple of years, and I'd like to go ahead and get this cleaned up if we can and move forward with saltwater landing. That would be the completion of the entire project.
You got anything to say on it, Price? Of course, weren't we holding up on this a little bit because of construction back in that area?
Yes, so the way it was originally planned out, Section 5 is what we called this, is actually Phase 5 of that subdivision. That actually met in the new specs. That section of road is actually built to a higher standard than Phases 1 through 4, which was adopted and accepted in 2018. And the agreement that was made at that time was you going ahead and put a half-inch asphalt down and tested that. Then after construction was complete, you overlaid it, and that gave you the finished look, which resulted in 2 inches of asphalt with 9 inches of base. That was completed. The only deficiency that I found was they do have a four-way stop at the back that only has 2 stop signs. There was a little bit of misunderstanding. There was town staff at the time that instructed the developer that they did not have to put those 2 additional stop signs. I cannot speak to that. That's the only deficiency that I found in this section. But as of raw construction,
Are we keeping the 2 extra stop signs?
I would like to defer, if I can, to the police chief.
Morning.
Morning,
I spoke
sir.
to Mr. Price yesterday about this issue. There was an issue previously where the previous chief, Shanahan, had instructed the developer that he didn't need to put up the stop signs at that intersection because there was no homes there and it was just empty lots at that point. I talked to David yesterday, and my recommendation is we put the stop signs up there because there is homes now in that area.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
So, all right.
Okay.
So do we want to, are we going to vote on this today?
It can just go to consensus for July.
But it'll go on there with that, we'll adopt it and put up the extra 2 stops.
That's correct. And again, try not to get Mr. Price involved in streets. I don't want to
Right.
confuse anybody, but
Chris. Okay,
just because
Chris.
of the historical information on this and this project, I did rely on
That's the
Price
only
for
reason I
that.
called him.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I knew he was in there when we were discussing it before.
Yeah.
I realize this is Chris's baby.
That's correct. And we'll make a slight adjustment to the resolution to remove Parks and Recreation Department out of that.
Right, okay.
Also, another thing on that, I noticed, when we annexed the other phases, we annexed some edge of pavement. That's why I see that's what you got on here, which is, we want to stay out of that other stuff that have problems with that.
This actually,
I just read it, I thought it said,
the deed, and that's something we'll have to, Mr. Attorney, have to look at. The deed of dedication, from my recollection, took in the right-of-ways, including the utility easements, and sidewalks.
I didn't think we didn't vote to take in the
No,
sidewalks,
we
did we?
didn't.
Then it-
Last time we did, all we did was we edge of pavement, edge of pavement.
I agree with that. Then if council wants to move forward in the direction of this resolution, that deed of dedication will need to be amended to be consistent with this resolution.
Sorry. Of course.
Of course.
Sorry.
I wanted to stay consistent with what we did before.
Yes, sir.
And there's
embarrassing.
ample reasons for that.
Absolutely.
What did we do? What does the other one say?
It goes from the edge of the pavement to edge of pavement. All we did was take the road in.
Is that what all of them say, though?
That's what the first phases we took in did. The last phase we're looking at right now, they've got the same thing on here again. I say stay with that as well.
And we'll make
Deed of
sure.
dedication, they dedicated the right of way and sidewalks. We want to get into, we don't want to get into that.
I know.
Yeah,
That's what
and
this
we
one
can.
says, it's from edge of pavement to edge of pavement,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
But
and
we
the
need-
resolution would direct that deed of dedication.
Right.
Okay.
Well, technically, they can offer whatever they want. We don't have to accept it as offered, and if we're willing to accept it as stated in this resolution, and they want to revoke their dedication, offer dedication, same thing, then they can.
Yeah. Okay.
It's our decision.
Okay, so it's our decision, so we can take it without the sidewalks.
Right, and if they want to revoke it, saying that, but I believe this was a situation where I got a call from two different attorneys, and apparently the developer didn't know the other attorney was representing them. At any rate, as Kyle indicated, the second attorney is the one that drafted the dedication. We can accept as it's stated in the resolution, and if they have any issues with that, they can withdraw their dedication.
Okay. Well, this will come up on the consent agenda next month, right? Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, so I guess we're down to street and budget discussion. All right, now, Chris, you can really talk now.
Mayor, good morning, council. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the streets project, budget and projects in the near future we have. We'll start with the budget side first. After speaking with Dave, finding out that we have money sitting in reserve, combining this year's budget and next year's budget, we should end up with somewhere around $363,000 to play with. That's even after Price takes his $100,000. Again, we're not going to try to break the bank on this, but I've had New Hanover Paving come out and look at our canal streets, which a lot of them streets are at 10 PCI, 15 PCI, that type of stuff. So they're really low, really bad damage. Third Street is really bad. So they've actually said we should pave that whole road. With the budget and the money that we would have, we would be able to go in, completely repair all of the canal streets. And I don't know, I was hoping to have some pictures for y'all to look at.
There you go. Well,
So,
we've got
yeah,
them on here, too.
This is out on the canal street. I know it looks like a chicken might have got up there and danced around a little bit, but like I had said, New Hanover Paving had come in, went through, looked at Canal first through 9th Street, picked out all the bad areas that should be paved or patched. These are not small patches that will be done. These are rather large size. Some of them range from 5 foot by 5 foot up to 60 foot by 15. The biggest one on Canal Street is 135 foot by 20 foot. So we're really going to be able to get the canal streets looking a lot better. I will say I get a lot of phone calls from the canal streets with potholes and other stuff like that that's been out there. Them roads are only about a ½ an inch thick, so they're not lasting too long. And our cold patching that we do, we might get a few weeks out of it. It all depends on the traffic and the rain that comes down. So we're more or less just putting a Band-Aid on it. This right here, after doing this, we will be able to raise the PCIs up from 10 and 15 up to in the 80s at least, which will give us a lot more life on these roads. New Hanover, for this project alone, and this is also including South Oak Court, which is on the island. That is our worst street in town. That is
When did they do this?
so New Hanover paving done this about a month ago, is when they come through and done this for me.
Okay. And then the county come in and dug some more up.
Yes, sir. Yep. But South Oak Court is our worst street in town. That has a 6 PCI on it. And with this right here, at $25,000, we can completely repave that street, which will put it back up to 100 PCI. By doing this in bigger projects, we are not spending as much on mobilization, so we're able to put more of that dollar to the street itself. Unfortunately, we were not able to do a lot of paving this year. That due to me and Amy, along with Dave, working on a new contract for the streets, and then the rise in fuel cost. I had other estimates given to me for more south end style work, and some of them estimates were $300,000. I even had one that come in at $440,000. So unfortunately, with them prices, no big projects were done this year. We've more or less just been trying to stay on top of the bad areas. But my plan is, with the budget that we're getting, we were about to set up a fall project, which will take care of the canal streets along with South Oak Court.
Can I just say?
Yes, ma'am.
South Oak or South Shore?
South Oak Court.
In Allen Oaks.
Yeah, it's down on the south end. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Pleasant Cove.
Okay, because Allen Oaks
Yes.
has private roads.
Yeah. So it's Pleasant Cove, I'm sorry. But also by doing that, this will be more of our fall time project right here. Springtime, I would look more into taking care of South Shore Drive, Little Kinston, and then we even have a few more projects inside of Pleasant Cove, like Shell Court and stuff like that, that could be fixed along with this budget. So more or less, just giving you an oversight of it, with the money that we have with this fall and this spring coming, we should be able to knock out a lot of our really bad streets and bring the PCIs up to get us at least another 5 to 10 years on some of these roads.
So this is just using this year's funds,
It will be using money that we have sitting in the POW bill right this second in reserve.
21, 22.
Yes, sir. I think right now we have $279,000 that is sitting in the POW reserve. Price will be taking his $100,000 out of that, along with the $93,575 left out of this fiscal year's budget, combined with next year's $90,000. That is still leaving us $10,000 to do little small projects as far as cold patching if we need to or something like that. But it would give us combined $363,000. With the projects that I have planned, we will have to go get more estimates as we get closer to it. We will, especially with the canal streets, we will get 3 bids on that, and then of course take the best bid on it. But this will be coming back to y'all in the next few months. But more or less just saying that with the money that we're going to have, we won't be breaking the bank, and we're going to be able to bring up a lot of these streets to 80, 85 PCIs. So we're going to definitely extend the life of a lot of the streets that we have right now.
Okay, you keep saying give David his money.
Yes, sir.
Can you
So
explain what that is?
with the POW bill that we kind of share, he's going to be taking $100,000 for his stormwater.
Okay.
But
That's
after
all
that-
I wanted. I wanted you to say what it was for.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry about that.
Just so we know David wasn't just taking it and putting it in his pocket. Okay.
So that's our update on the streets right this second.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You know the width of all of our streets basically in town, right?
Right at 20 foot, sir.
This is just for the council to consider too. I'm gonna throw a hornet out in the room. If we're going through and we're paving, this is the ideal time to get all streets back in order for those that encroached on the right of way.
For the streets that are encroaching.
For any paving we do in a whole road on, we need to get those back in line with our being out of the right of way. This is an opportune time to do it because the road's being repaved. It's something we're gonna face down the road that we're gonna have to do anyway. it would be less cumbersome and be less controversial, I think. It's gonna be controversial in the way you look at it. But it'd be less controversial to do it when you're paving that road. Just a thought.
You're saying as far as in like any fencing,
It's
landscaping?
landscaping, anything that's in the right of way, it's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, and I would, I would suggest that once we get a contract in place, then Chris can work with Amy and Scott and maybe send letters to everybody that adjoins that roadway, give them the good news of getting resurfaced, but then let them know what their obligation is to.
Yeah, it's a good trade-off.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. It's less controversial. It's gonna be controversial enough, but it'd be less controversial.
Sir,
Okay.
I think we can
Can I ask
absolutely
you a
join
question
this.
on that, buddy? Is it everything out of the right of way, or, now what is the widths that y'all are demanding?
Whatever the dedicated road is to the town.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is now, okay, when they discussed doing the right of way, Amy.
The 8 to 10 feet, Mr.
Right.
Mayor, I think is what you're referring to.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I want it clear whether we're talking about the whole right of way or whether we're talking about the 8 and 10 foot that she is trying to get.
So the original right-of-way clearing plan that we've been discussing has a Phase 1, a Phase 2, and a Phase 3. Phase 3 was the entire right-of-way, with Phase 1 being most of the stuff in the 8 to 10 foot, and then some additional things in there, but it was in a phased process. So most of our roads range anywhere from 29.7 feet of right-of-way to 60 feet of right-of-way, based on the road. The canals are actually some of the easier roads because they have a 60-foot right-of-way, and the power poles are actually on the right-of-way, which is not the case in the majority of town. So it would be an easier area to start with during the paving of the roads because we do know where the right-of-way is out there. We've also had a lot of the, mobile homes be pulled out and new houses be built. So we have more recent surveys that verifies and shows those poles on the survey, where in some of the other areas, the houses were built in 50s, 60s, 70s. We just don't have that documentation or, the survey points in.
Okay, so the canals will be the whole right of way.
That will be at the direction of council. The original
Right, that's what
conversation was 8 to 10 foot as a Phase
What
1.
I'm saying is though, some of those light poles are in the right of way.
The light poles on the canals tend to be on the right-of-way line, which is not accurate
move
on
the light
other
poles.
streets.
That's whatever this council decides, As I'm saying, I think it's a good opportunity to not be so controversial, to get it back in the line with our ordinance that says nothing's supposed to be in the right of way.
I agree. We need to get everything out of the right of way on those canals, cause you can use the poles as a line, and it needs to be out of the right of way now.
Face it sometime anyway.
Yeah, but now, okay, is she gonna leave, can she leave the native trees?
There is an exemption in the right-of-way that discusses the coastal forest overlay district, which is found in Appendix A of our ordinances. And it does discuss allowing certain trees, but I do want to bring to the council's attention that palms are not listed as trees.
I know,
I
we
would
know,
not-
we've heard you enough to know. that
I'm
ponds
just
are
saying
not
that because
trees.
somebody at home is watching and thinking, my palm tree is safe, and your palm is not a tree. So if you are at home and you're watching today, it has to be a tree from the coastal forest overlay district, and it has to be a certain size to count. In my general recollection of the canals, there's going to be a few large old trees, but
There
it's
is
going to
some
be,
big old trees.
it's either going to be incredibly obvious that it meets the ordinance, or it's not going to be an issue. There tends to be either the really big, huge, pretty oak, or palms, or bushes.
I know.
Obviously, I don't go up there as much as you, but from my recollection.
Mr. Mayor and Council, if I
Yes,
may.
sir.
If, I think that we have an adopted policy on the program, and if this is something that we want to caveat with road projects of immediately jumping to Phase 3 of this project, then I suggest that we update that policy to reflect that decision. That way we can accurately communicate for those folks as to why this is being done sooner rather than what was discussed in our communications with our folks.
Well, your paving is not gonna occur until this fall, correct?
Correct.
That's what I was going to
So
say. We have our
we
public
need to
meetings this
go-
fall.
We need to go ahead and put that in the ordinance so the folks will know that, and they can, Amy can tell them that and send them a letter stating that whenever the road gets paved, everything has got to come out of the right of way.
Accepted her.
Well, we'll just update that policy that was done. I think that's something, and we'll bring it back to council to look at again with any of those changes. So that's something very easily we can do as to bring back to y'all to look at.
Okay.
So I'd suggest we do that in July. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't you wish you hadn't asked?
Nope, I think there's a lot that can be done, so we'll have additional conversations about some drainage thoughts if we're taking everything out of the right-of-way. It's a good thing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
All right. Darn, we going faster than we thought we were. A lot faster, huh? Okay, committee reappointments. We got Tina Andes in Parks, Recreation, Tourism Advisory, and she has been asked to be reappointed. And Terry Ketchum, Beautification and Enhancement Committee, and she asked to be reappointed. So do I have a motion to reappoint Tina?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. An appointment for Terry, am I saying that right? Ketchum?
No, it's Kuchar.
Kuchal, okay, Kuchal. Do I have a motion to reappoint her?
I make a motion to reappoint her.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Do we have anything else to come before the board?
I was just going to let the board know, we do continue to work on the Surf City Live event and feel like we're doing pretty good at getting something to move forward. So just as a reminder, this board set up a separate budget for that project last year that will go along with the fiscal year. So with the end of the fiscal year, we may need to re-present that budget in July. We've had a couple of things literally yesterday evening that had come through that we feel good about. So we'll be probably looking to set that budget up for July. Just wanted to let you know that.
And that budget was $250?
$225, yes, sir.
225.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, and I don't.
You don't need a motion yet, right?
No. Just again, just
might
something
spend
to
it before we
keep you posted on. Dave won't let me spend any money after July or June 15th, so it's pretty much locked in there.
Well, you better hurry up.
I know. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Dave, you got anything else you want to add? Chris? David? Anybody else? Okay.
Doug?
Yes.
How do we stand on the issue that I started last council meeting about the ordinances and the codes?
Okay.
People we need to get them to follow.
They
You
are
want to
working
explain?
on
Yeah, absolutely. So, Amy's department, Amy and Scott have been working the streets pretty hard over there, and have a general report that was sent out to council, making contact and explaining to folks what needs to be done to bring them into full compliance. Obviously there was some misunderstandings out there in regards to how special use permits or conditional use permits apply to uses and land, et cetera. So I'm confident in their customer service that we'll be able to get those explanations and get folks moving forward. However, we will identify certain areas that are going to be issues that we'll probably need to talk to the council about in regards to current codes and how to meet current codes, et cetera. So it is evolving, and as I had mentioned in that report, we will keep you updated weekly until we achieve compliance and or make any modifications that we need to do within our code. But that in general is sort of an update as to where we're at. I think we had about 8 or so on that list that we'll work with individually to achieve that compliance.
And everybody understands that they gotta follow the code.
Yes,
And
sir.
they gotta follow the ordinance. That's all we asked everybody to do that comes in here, whether business owner, whoever, follow the code.
Yes.
Follow the ordinance. And if you need permits, get them.
That's right.
No one's exempt. Everybody's gonna be treated alike.
That's right.
Period.
That's right. And we're gonna handle this like we do. Everything else is really just trying to work with folks to get that compliance, and that's really what we want to do, because they're able to give a lot of education to individuals once we can have that conversation.
Well, as long as we understand that no one's exempt and everybody's gonna be treated
We understand
alike.
nobody's exempt.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Does everybody in here understand that?
Well, some people have a tendency to talk to other people and try to get, which I'm talking about you, tend to want to influence other people.
Do
That's
what?
over with.
Do what now?
Everybody's got to do the same way, same thing.
Now, clarify what you were talking about me.
Well, only thing I'm saying, and I'm not accusing nobody of anything. The
Well,
only
it sure
thing
sound,
I'm
it sure
saying
sound
is-
like it, Don.
is that everybody, council, whoever, everybody has to abide by the rules that's the town has. There's no privileged characters. Everybody's treated alike.
Okay, so have I asked anybody
No.
here to bend the rules
I
for
hadn't said
somebody?
you did anything.
Well, you brought my name up.
That's cause you were asking for it.
I still don't like that, Don. We're in a public meeting, and it is being broadcasted, and you keep talking about
All I'm
me.
saying is, everybody needs to be treated alike.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
have I treated anybody different?
I don't know. I'm not accusing you of a thing, Doug. Not one thing.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything? Kyle, you through?
Happy Father's Day.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. And thank
Happy
you.
Father's Day to everybody.
Thank you,
Okay.
Teresa.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. All
Happy
right.
Father's Day to everybody.
Okay. All right. Now that we're out of that meeting, I